how do you avoid in that process when you're trying to put stuff together and thing? How do you avoid the what is known as documentarian bias, right? Where the person you have your thoughts about with materials, you have to because you're not a robot, at least to the best of my knowledge. um, but you have your thoughts on what you're looking at, and depending on how you put it together, you can frame it in different ways. How do you avoid the bias when you're trying to be true to the work?
It's such a good question because it's a really tough thing to do, and I feel like no matter who it is, no matter what film it is, you can never say that you didn't have any bias in your film because you go in trying to drive home a point, pretty much. You go in thinking, or I'm going to make a film about this because the justice system was wrong in this instance. I'm going to show how it was wrong. And I go in making that film. And so, of course, everything is going to point to that because I went in with that mindset and that's what intrigued me to tell this story. And so there's always going to be some bias. However, I would like to think that I really try hard to tell the story with just the facts and try and keep it out of there, keep my opinions and my bias out of there as much as possible. There's a few examples like in my film, and I, by the way, I'm working on the feature length version of Jeff's story, so it'll be an hour and a half long, and it goes much deeper into what happened, why the DNA wasn't tested, how do innocent people confess to horrific things they didn't do. It goes much deeper into how this all came to be, and in that process, working on the feature length documentary, in one instance, I asked Jeff if he thought it was unfair that he didn't get his full settlement, all of the money he was awarded in the civil case, but then he had signed that kind of agreement for a cap. And so he didn't get more than half of it, I believe. And I thought that that was very unfair because from my perspective, I thought, you screwed him over again by making him
Mhm.
sign this agreement beforehand before he knew what he could receive, and not having experience and knowing what could be possible, you just kind of put a limit on it, and now you cheated him out of millions of dollars at the end. And so to me that seemed very unfair, and so I asked him a question about, did you think it was unfair? And so my question was already framed in a way that had a little bit of
Yeah,
bias in it, right?
yeah.
And and the thing about documentary is you never know what the person will say. And so it kind of can course correct it a little bit because he was like, "No, are you kidding me? I got millions of dollars." And like his response was so the opposite of what I was thinking, that I realized in the moment that I was like, "Wait, I'm putting my thoughts onto him. He doesn't feel that way.
Mhm.
Just that was my opinion and my take on it." And so I'm always keeping that in the back of my mind to kind of correct those things. And then also, I think there's lots of ways to just be very fair and mindful. Like, I didn't include any crime scene photos or anything like that in my film. And the reason for that is, and of course, we needed more footage, and the more you can show what happened, the better. But since Angela's family had asked Jeff to, they were, let me rewind. He used to talk to their family, and they were very upset about what happened to him. They realized he was also a victim in this whole scenario, and they were really, really, they invited him over for dinner and stuff, and had a relationship with Jeff. But at some point, they said, we wish you well, but we're not going to be talking to you anymore, not because of anything you've done, and we wish you the best, but it's just, every time we talk to you or engage with you, it's a reminder of the worst time in our lives,
Mhm.
and we just
Yeah.
can't have that anymore for sanity. And so I didn't reach out to them to talk to them for the film because they've already voiced to Jeff that they don't want to. And so without their permission, I also would not include the crime scene photos and whatnot. So there's ways that you can really be, as mindful as possible when making these films of everybody involved. Because my film was about Jeff, so I could have just went ahead and used whatever. But it's also, it would impact her family too. It's got to keep those things in mind.
And that just goes back to exactly what you were talking about before with just trying to have ethics about what you're doing. Because even though you know that it could potentially make for more compelling footage and everything, it's not about that.
Hmm.
It's about doing what's right and then letting the results play out that they will. So I commend you on that as well, because especially when it comes to a medium like filmmaking, any type of filmmaking, sensationalism can be hard to kind of fight off when you're thinking like this will really help this moment here, this beat here, this will really connect with if there was something more sensational and stuff. But you have to be ethical, and I think that that's the best way to go about filmmaking, for one, especially when you're a documentarian, because you're going to want to make more, and if they see that you're going to do that to their story, they're not going to want to work with you, and
For
they'll hear
sure.
about it through the grapevine and everything, that you do those things. They're like, well, we can't trust her, and you need trust in every type of filmmaking. You need trust, but documentaries for sure you need trust, because you're trying to get these people to reveal themselves. This isn't a character they're playing, this is their real life, and this is the real facts about everything that's gone down with them. Thanks for checking out Starting Nowhere. Come find us on Facebook so you can comment on this and other clips and episodes of Starting Nowhere.